Hi, everyone. Welcome again to Enjoy English School. I'm Bruce.
大家好，我是 Bernice.
In the Origins section of your magazine, remember that the origin of something is the beginning or the start or the source of something. We'll be looking at Abbey Road Studios. And when we see the word studio, we usually think of, well, where Bernice and I are right now in a recording studio, or a movie where they make movies. That's also a kind of studio.
所以我们今天要讲到的是追根究底这个单元。那么 studio 这个字呢，就像刚才 Bruce 老师讲的，我们在 recording studio 就是一个录音间，一个录音室。所以一个 studio 呢，就是一个工作的地方。那我们今天要讲的呢，就是一个跟这个专辑有关的一个录音室。
Okay, the first paragraph of today's lesson. This is a 2-day lesson. We have a lot to talk about the Abbey Road Studios. London is home to a very special recording studio, Abbey Road Studios. London, of course, is the capital and largest city in the United Kingdom. To be home to means something is there. Something comes from, in this case, London, and it's a very special, a very unusual recording studio, and that's our title of today's lesson and tomorrow's, Abbey Road Studios.
这边讲到伦敦，大家都知道是英国呢的这个首都啦。那么 is home to 就是什么地方的一个所在地，也就是这个东西呢就在这个地方。所以伦敦是什么地方的所在地呢？他说是一间非常特殊的一个录音间。OK， 刚才老师有讲 special 就是 unusual， 就是非常特殊、非常不一样的一个录音间。那么这个录音间的名字呢，就叫做艾比路录音室。
It was founded in 1931 and is the most famous of all British recording studios. If you are founded, well, you and I wouldn't be founded, but a company or a university or other institute, when did it begin? When did it start? Somebody has to arrange and settle a lot of things before something begins, and we say that something is founded in, wow, that is 90 years ago. In 1931, that is when Abbey Road Studios, which is the most famous, it's the most well-known. Everybody knows that Abbey Road Studios is British, and it's in London.
所以呢，这一间录音室呢，它其实是在什么时候创立的呢？我们讲到 found 这个字，刚才老师解释很清楚，通常就是一个机构或者一个单位，它一开始的时候，所以它一开始创立的时间是在1931年，非常非常久远了。而且当时呢，它就是一个怎么样，在这个 British 在英国呢，就是所有的这些录音室里面最著名的。所以同学你可以看到 the most of all 就是所有之中最，所以它是非常非常著名的一间录音室。
At first, it was a place to record classical music. In the beginning, Abbey Road Studios was set up to receive or to record classical music, which was the primary, the main kind of music played in Europe from the early 1600s to the early 1900s. That's a 300-year history of classical music. Mozart, Beethoven, Bach, Handel, Brahms, and so on.
好，所以我们这边看到 at first 就是一开始的时候呢，这一间录音室啊，它是一个地点。什么样的地点呢？它专门呢就是录一些 classical music。什么是 classical 呢？我们在它是一个形容词，我们把它翻成比较古典的、比较经典的一些东西。所以古典的意思就是表示它历史非常的悠久啦，然后这种比较传统的这些艺术的东西，我们这时候就说它是 classical music。At
that time, again, this is 1931, maybe the first 10 or 20 years of the company's history, the company was not known as Abbey Road Studios. They didn't have that name. Instead, it was named Electrical and Musical Industries, or for short, EMI.
所以呢他说 at that time 就是指在1931年那个时候呢 be known as 那个 as 后面是接他的身份，也就是说他当时并不是这个名字，就是艾比路录音室。那么 instead 相反的呢，他呢却是当时被命名为，所以你这边可以看到 was named 一样，我们在讲1931年，所以你都要用过去式。它呢简称为这个所谓的 EMI， 那它的原文就是这3个字，好，电子及音乐产业，就是 EMI 的缩写。
The company took a 9-bedroom house located at 3 Abbey Road and changed it into a building with 3 recording studios.So the company, EMI, in the beginning, they took, here means bought, a 9-bedroom house. That's probably a 3, 4, or 5-story building on Abbey Road, and they changed it from homes, a very rich family's home, to change something into is to change something from to.And, of course, there's so much room in a building that large that they could set up 3 recording studios.
好，所以当时这一个公司呢，所以这个 The Company 就是指 EMI 这家公司，它当时呢就已经有拿去了，这个 took 就我们刚刚讲占据了大概9个卧房这么大的一个房子，所以你看看这个房子有非常非常的大，它里面有9个房间。然后呢，这个地方呢是在哪里呢？ Located at 什么地方？前面省略了 which was， 这个地方的位置是在那个Abbey Road 的3号，就是这一条路3号上面，然后总共有9个房间的一个住宅。然后呢，他们就把这个9个房间的住宅呢，把它改变了 ，change something into， 然后把它改成了一个 building。那么这个 building 里面总共可以有3间录音室的一个 building。Okay,
that's a good introduction to our EMI company, now known as Abbey Road Studios. Let's take a short break. When we come back, we'll tell you even more. Okay, welcome back. Second paragraph, as time passed, as time went on from 1931 to, well, it says music styles changed and developed. There was no classical music being written after about 1920. So what other kinds of music were there? Stay tuned and we'll tell you.
所以呢，接着随着时间不断的过去啦，就是从1931年一直这样子过去。那么呢，我们也知道这些音乐的一些风格，它的 styles， 当然也随着时间的过去，所以它会不断的改变啦，还有不断的演变。
The studio started recording jazz albums and later pop music. So here we have 2 newer types of music, jazz, I'm sure you all know that word. Pop music, we think of rock and roll, at least in the first decade or 2. And pop music is still probably the most popular form of music around the world today.
所以这间录音室它开始做了什么样的演变呢？首先呢，它就开始一样，我们还是用过去式，因为这个动作已经发生了 started， 然后后面加上 ing， 他们就开始录了一些什么样的音乐呢？第一个就是有 jazz 爵士的albums， 在这边就是指专辑。当然我们也知道 albums 它可以指这个相片的相片集，那在这边是指唱片的专辑。而且之后呢，就是在 jazz 之后呢，他们又录了许多的这个 pop music。 pop 就是比较当时流行的一些音乐。
The studio became an exceptional place for numerous music artists.Exceptional, we already said London is home to a very special recording studio. Special, or very special would be exceptional, unusually special, for numerous, for very many music artists.
所以呢，这一间录音室呢，在当时呢，就变成了一个 exceptional， 就是老师刚才讲的，它比 special 还要再 special， 就是相当特别的，或者我们翻成就是非常非比寻凡的这样子的一个地点。那么这个地点呢，是对什么人来说呢 ？numerous 就是许许多多的这一些 music artists， 就是当时的一些音乐的艺术家，也就是当时的音乐人来说，哇，是非常他们喜愛的一个录音的场所。
By the way, music artists, we could also say musicians. That would be M-U-S-I-C-I-A-N, singular. Musician. That S has the Z sound. Musician, plural musicians. The Beatles, yay, recorded almost all of their music in Studio 2 at EMI. If you don't know who the Beatles are, then you haven't listened to any music since 1960. Anyway, Studio 2, remember there are three studios at EMI, and for some reason the Beatles chose Studio 2 to do almost all of their recording there.
没错，所以 The Beatles 同学应该知道这个团体啦。如果你不知道的话，你根本就是对于这个音乐你根本不了解了。好，所以他们呢也同时呢就选择这一间录音室，然后他们几乎呢就在这个 Studio 2， 就是2号，他们有3个嘛，他们在2号的这个录音间里面呢，几乎把他们所有的音乐都是在这个 EMI 的2号录音室把它给录制了。
After the Beatles released their album titled Abbey Road, the studio changed its name from EMI to Abbey Road Studios. That's how popular the Beatles were.
Yeah.
Now, in music, we say to release a song, to release an album. And they loved the studio, and so they named one of their albums. They titled it or named it Abbey Road. EMI was so impressed that they actually changed their name to Abbey Road Studios.
所以这个句子就是告诉我们，这个录音室为什么被称为这个艾比路的录音室，就是在 The Beatles 他们呢发行了他们的专辑，而他们的专辑那个 titled 就是它的命名，这个歌曲的命名呢就叫Abbey Road， 所以既然呢，你看 Beatles 在当时这么样的风行的一个团体，所以呢，干脆 EMI 呢就决定了，我就来把我们 Studio 原本的这个名字 EMI from to 就是从 EMI 这个名字，我把它改成了这个艾比路录音室。
Okay, let's take another short break, and when we come back, we'll finish today's material, but we have a 2-day lesson. Okay, welcome back, and let's finish our final paragraph for today. The Beatles aren't the only popular artists to record at Abbey Road Studios. They're probably the most famous. They made an album, and the company changed its name for them, but they weren't the only ones.
所以呢，当时呢，在这边地方录音的这个团体呢，不是只有他们，因为他们可能是当时最著盛名的。不过呢，他们也不是唯一的这么样的受欢迎的这些知名的音乐人，在这一个艾比路录音室录音的人。
And who else was famous and recorded there? Pink Floyd, Lady Gaga, yay! Adele, Kanye West, Ed Sheeran, and many others have entered this well-known studio to record their hit songs. Of course, well-known means you know somebody very well, so they're famous.
所以呢，接下来又讲了好多个，可能呢，同学们对于他们的名字都非常非常的熟悉。比如说啦 ，Pink Floyd 这个弗洛伊德啦 ，Lady Gaga 大家都知道 ，Ra Ra Ra Mama。OK， 好，老师大概随便唱一下，不是唱的很标准。Adele 大家也认识他，然后再来是这个肯伊威斯特，还有这个红发艾德，大家都对他们非常的熟悉。当然，除了他们之外，还有很多其他的，所以 many others 就是 many music artists， 他们都曾经进入过 have entered 这样子的一个非常著名的这样的一个艾比路的录音室，然后呢，来录制他们当时最畅销的一些歌曲。
The movie soundtracks for Star Wars, Return of the Jedi, The Lord of the Rings, and Avengers Endgame were also recorded by orchestras at the studio.
Wow.
So we just gave you a long list of individuals or bands which recorded their hit music there, their very popular songs there. But it's these recording studios don't only record singing artists. A soundtrack is the music that we hear when we watch a movie. And here are three very popular movies which recorded at the Abbey Road studios. And they were not individual players. They were whole orchestras. You may have had at least 20, maybe 30, 40, 50 people who played together. And very often classical music, that is an orchestra.
好，所以接下来呢就不是个人的啦。刚才老师讲的 individual 就是一个一个，好，这个歌手。那接下来呢就是一个团体了，甚至你看一整个交响乐团整个搬进去，可见他那个录音室里面有多大。所以接下来我们介绍的是一些知名电影的原声带。所以刚才老师讲的 soundtracks 就是我们在看电影的时候听到那个音乐，那就是他的这个电影的原声带。比如说呢，我们都知道星际大战6部曲的这一个绝地大反攻，还有呢魔戒，接下来是复仇者联盟的终局之战。好，这几部片我相信同学通通都看过。那么这几个团体甚至他们是因为它是一整个交响乐搬进去一起录，所以里面可能有很多很多的人要很多的这个乐器在里面，所以呢里面大概40-50个人都在这样的一个 studio 里面呢来录制他们的电影原声带。
Okay, now you know quite a bit more about Abbey Road Studios. After this break, we're going to review some of the more useful and important vocabulary.
好的。
Okay, first, a studio is a place where music is recorded or movies are filmed.Also, it is used in art for photographers who take pictures. They may have their own studio. Second sentence, remember, to be founded means to set up or establish some kind of company or a university or any kind of institute.
就是我们在讲呢一个机构或者像学校这样子被创建被创立，所以像老师刚才讲有 set up 也可以作为替换，或者是 established.
Our second word is classical, as in classical music. This is the adjective form. The noun, by the way, doesn't use the AL. You could say, for example, that a certain kind of car is a classic because a Rolls-Royce Ghost or whatever they were called that people who really know a lot about cars consider one of the excellent examples of something would be a classic. And we use classical music to describe that wonderful 3-century-long period of music, mostly in Europe.
所以老师刚才讲到一个是 classic 是它的名词，就是讲这个东西呢很棒很优秀，比如说像刚才我们讲车子类的，那么 classical 是它的形容词，一样它就是讲很经典的历史上很悠久的这个东西。
Change into is our next item, and that is to go or become from one thing to another.
对，就是把一个东西呢改变成另外一样。
Our next word in the second paragraph is numerous. Of course, it looks like number a little bit, doesn't it? Well, if you have a number of things, you have many things, and that's what numerous means.
对，这个字形容词很多的。
At the end of that paragraph is titled, and that simply means known as or called.
所以它这边是当成一个被动式，就是被称作为。
In our last paragraph, again, well-known studio is a famous studio.
形容词著名的。
And the word orchestra, here it's in the plural in our last sentence, is a group of musicians who play, a large group of musicians who play music together, mostly classical, but not only.
所以他们加了 s， 表示是一整团的交响乐团。
Well, that's it for today's lesson, but remember we continue tomorrow with Abbey Road Studios Part 2. Till then, bye-bye.